Welcome everyone to Kearsarge Food Hub's 5th annual Love Local event, and we have a terrific evening planned for you. We are coming to you live from 11 West Main Street here in little old Bradford, New Hampshire. We're here in the community room at Sweet Beet Marketing Cafe. We are recording this on the unceded land of Endakina, home of our Abenaki neighbors past and present. We respect these Abenaki as the traditional stewards of the lands on which we are hosting this event today, and pledge to share in the bounty and the fruits of our labor with our Abenaki partners. I'm your co-host, Hannah Flanders. I am a co-founder here at the Kearsarge Food Hub and our Director of Community Engagement. And welcome everybody out there tuning in from, I'm sure, from all over the world tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I am extra thrilled to introduce you to a new co-host this evening, Kearsarge Food Hub's next Executive Director, Rob McGregor. Rob was brought on this October to take over the role of Executive Director, and he brings a track record of nonprofit leadership. I'm not going to run through the entire resume, but Rob was the Executive Director of the Southern District YMCA, where he helped transform the organization into a vibrant community hub, developing a 33,000 square foot facility, helping to grow Camp Lincoln, a 67-acre summer and year-round camp, and adopting a community farm in CSA that focused on volunteerism and educational farm camps. Rob's a camp guy. We're so excited he is here with us tonight. Rob?
Thank you. It's a thrill to be here, and it's very humbling to be here, and just amazing to see what faces are here and to see the depth of what's taken place with this organization in 10 years. To think that 10 years ago or 11 years ago, this was a dream of some hardworking and dedicated staff and volunteers, and now, thanks to everyone in this room and throughout this community, this is just a vibrant hub. It really is the hub of the community, and so I'm just honored and blessed to be here, so thank you.
You're welcome. It's beautiful. Okay, everybody, so I'm going to take just a couple minutes to set the table, so to speak, about why we are here tonight. So Love Local is an annual event where the primary goal is to, in the words of Adrienne Marie Brown, come back to the scale of being a human in community. I don't know about you guys, but especially these days, it is far too easy to get super overwhelmed by everything that's going on and wonder if there's anything at all that we can even do to improve the world out there. So tonight we are bringing it back to the local level, and we're going to learn about incredible work that's happening here and now all around us, efforts that we all can support and be a part of and create real impact together. Because we are the Kearsarge Food Hub, and our focus is food, tonight we're taking a closer look at the local and statewide food system, where a food system is all the many channels and structures and policies and human beings that move food from our farms to our plates. Tonight's theme is meeting the moment. It feels particularly important right now for all of us to gather and get informed on what's going on with current events while planning for the future and empowering ourselves with the knowledge and the connection of this evening to take action in small and big ways. It's about using food as a catalyst for lifting up entire communities. And perhaps most importantly, in this modern moment, it is about remembering to find love and joy in the work that we do and here in the communities where we live. So, as with every Love Local event, we're here to learn directly from the people doing the work in our food system, and we're honored to have this incredible panel of leaders from prominent organizations from across New Hampshire. These folks work in key areas that overlap with our work here at the Kearsarge Food Hub, areas like hunger and food security, farmer support, policy and advocacy, strategic action. I'm really excited to get to the panel, which is why we're here tonight in just a couple minutes. But first, I do want to share a little bit more about the Kearsarge Food Hub. For those of you who do not know us, we are a nonprofit food hub serving the Kearsarge region. And really, our work is all about building bridges between our farmers and our food producers and our educators in our schools and families, and then, of course, all of us who eat food, which is indeed all of us. The vision we hold is one of a resilient and connected community where everyone is empowered to access healthy local food, where our farmers are supported and the land is nourished, and where all neighbors share a common sense of place. We often refer to the heartbeat of our work as the community building that underpins all of our efforts. It's really about creating belonging through sharing food. And there's this beautiful thing that happens, needed now more than ever, when we center food in our discourse and in our communities. It provides fertile soil for finding common ground. Because, Michaela, as we like to say, we all gotta eat. Okay, and as you mentioned, Rob, 2025 is KFH's, as we like to call ourselves, 10-year anniversary. We have been building the Kearsarge Food Hub since starting as a teeny tiny farm stand across town 10 years ago. Back then and today, it is so important to acknowledge that we are a part of a larger and growing movement shaped by farmers, organizers, educators, and community leaders who work hard every single day to help lay the foundation for a more just and vibrant local food system. And we have grown tremendously over the past decade, working together with you all, with our community, to build something that we truly never could have imagined back then in 2015 when we were just putting our hands in the dirt and learning where our food comes from.
Thanks. Well said. So, Sweet Beet, the food hub, it sometimes gets confusing. There's so much that's going on. Where's the center of it? Well, the center is certainly all of us in this room, but the center is really around the food that gets produced and the food that gets distributed. There's a farm. There are farms in the area, a farm in the area. There's multiple farms. There's the market, there's the cafe, and there are donations. Without these donations, people would go hungry. And it's because of these donations that people in this community have been so generous that we've been able to make and move mountains. And so I'm going to do a quick visual. No one knows this yet, but hold on.
All right. Wow. Oh my gosh. Off script. He's a camp guy.
Okay.
Okay. Micro Mama. Shout out.
So I've got two products here. This place supports 250 farmers and producers. I didn't get what that meant when I first started. I get a farmer. But now I know a farmer. Jake, sitting here in the front row. Cassie, sitting in the front row. They're the farmer. They're producing this food. So I kind of get that, a farmer. But then we have these producers. What's a producer? Walk around the market. Walk around the cafe. Oh, I just happen to have some Micro Mamas right here. What's Micro Mamas? Well, it's silly dilly carrot, and it's a lot of good food. And it just so happens that Stephanie in the back row owns this company locally to be able to produce food so that we can be the beneficiaries. Taking that a step further, she gets the produce from local farms that are organic. So it's a full circle. And so I didn't understand the depth of that, but it's pretty remarkable stuff that there's 250 individuals like Jake and Cassie, like Stephanie, who are producing food so that each of us in this room can eat. Wow. When I learned that, I'm like, holy mackerel, this is just really, this is the real stuff.
There is mackerel in the market.
Obviously, all the farm-based education, and we could be calling out a bunch of the staff who are doing this farm-based education. It's amazing the work we're doing with that. Donating 28,000 pounds of food. What does that mean? It's a lot of food. But that's only possible because there's multiple food pantries in the area that get the food and distribute the food to those in need. And that food comes from Jake, from Cassie, and from all these farmers in this area. It's really remarkable stuff. And lastly, I think what is really, really powerful is the fact that it can't be done without everyone in this room. So together, not independently, we're building something very, very, very special. Okay, here's the pitch, guys. Yeah. Donations are important. We can't do it without it. Because how are we going to, we could try to squeeze Jake and Cassie and say, yeah, come on, give us some food. Well, they're trying to make a living too. And so what's valuable is we can purchase products and then we can distribute the product to those in need. So not only are they getting a local produce and local food, but they're getting local produce and food that's really the best in the world, right from their own corner. So I think that's some magical stuff. So yeah, that takes resources, and you know what? This group has been very fortunate to be both giving and receiving and making sure that it all happens. So right now, I know there's a lot of hardships out there. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but tonight our aim is to raise $10,000. We don't need to be embarrassed about that. That's the reality. We're here to raise $10,000, and here's a little bonus. Whatever's raised tonight gets matched, so it's a twofer. So whatever gets raised gets doubled. So that's pretty powerful stuff. So whatever we raise in our goal towards $10,000 will get doubled. So just throwing it out there. We're going to have a great night. We're going to have a great evening with everyone here. But just our humility is just beyond compare, and we're grateful. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Rob. Off script. Love that. So fun and important. So we are nearly halfway to our goal of 10,000. Thank you to your ticket purchases and to the folks who have donated so far. We are nearly halfway to this goal. So that link up on the banner there is the direct link to donate to this campaign specifically. You can donate at any time throughout the night. You can also find a button to go get to that link if you don't want to do that mumbo jumbo at kearsargefoodhub.org. And we are, of course, here to learn from these incredible local leaders, but we are also here to celebrate you all and to celebrate this community and our 10-year milestone, which is literally not possible without our teamwork. So thank you all. And just a couple of other notes before we dive in. I do want to thank our lead sponsors tonight, Jake's Market and Deli and Daystar Builders, for their generous support making this event possible. Really committed community businesses. As well as thanks to Sugar River Bank for sponsoring this event and their ongoing support. We will have a Q&A portion tonight. We're ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll introduce our panelists now. Rob?
Thank you. I have the honor of introducing Laura Milliken. She's the Executive Director at New Hampshire Hunger Solutions. The organization is in place to end hunger in New Hampshire through advocacy, education, technical assistance, coalition building, and policy change. She has been instrumental in advocacy to increase participation in federal nutrition programs and in seeking other systemic solutions to hunger. But before coming to NHHS in 2020, Laura was the director of Spark New Hampshire, the state's early childhood advisory council, for 9 years. Laura is an attorney who has spent her career advocating for social justice. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Laura. Next, we're going to introduce Nicole Cardwell. Nicole is the director of the New Hampshire Food Alliance, a statewide network hosted by the University of New Hampshire that engages and connects people dedicated to growing a thriving, fair, and sustainable local food system right here in the Granite State. She's worked on agriculture and food system issues from an impressive variety of perspectives that I've whittled down a little bit for the purposes of tonight, but that include the Rainforest Alliance, the Massachusetts Farm to School Project, and the Natural Resources Defense Council, among many, many others. Welcome, Nicole.
Next, I'd like to introduce Nikki Kolb. Nikki is the operational director of the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New Hampshire. Many know that as NOFA-NH, or NOFA New Hampshire. It's a nonprofit dedicated to promoting organic, regenerative, ecologically sound farming, gardening, eating, and land care practices for healthy communities. For over 50 years, the organization has proudly served a vibrant community of farmers, gardeners, and eaters through diverse programming from farmer services to policy and advocacy work. Nikki has been with NOFA New Hampshire since 2017. Thanks, Nikki, for being here.
Sorry, I cut you right off. And finally, my former co-host for Love Local, we have Franz Hahn. She's a co-founder of the Kearsarge Food Hub. You all know her. She has been leading the organization since day one, but officially as our executive director for the past 5 years. In 2024, she won the Union Leader 40 Under 40 Award, recognizing her outstanding efforts in entrepreneurship, co-founding this food hub. Franz has had a direct hand in building every aspect of the Kearsarge Food Hub, from growing food on the farm to developing our education programs to running Sweet Beet Market. As Franz passes the baton of executive directorship to Rob here, she will be staying with the organization to focus on development, and she will continue to shine both professionally and personally with her passion for this work. Welcome, Franz. All right, let's do this thing. Question number 1. Right now, we are in the middle of a government shutdown, and we're on the heels of massive cuts to the federal workforce and agencies that oversee food assistance programs, grants for farmers, and on and on. We do want to know what issues you're paying closest attention to right now, and what are the latest developments. And Laura, we're going to start with you, since New Hampshire Hunger Solutions is really at the epicenter of food assistance policy. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. I want to thank you so much for inviting me. This place is so impressive, and the work that you've done is so helpful to us all. So thanks. So New Hampshire Hunger Solutions right now is advocating for the people who are currently enrolled in SNAP but are not receiving it. That is a little bit of a disaster. So just to give people context, I want to give you a little bit of information about SNAP. SNAP is our country's first line of defense against hunger. In New Hampshire, it helps nearly 76,000 of our neighbors, friends, family avoid hunger. But SNAP is for all of us. So many of us are just one raised rent, one illness, one accident, one loss of childcare or a job, one ill parent or child away from needing help. Our country designed SNAP to be there to keep all of us from falling into total disaster when the worst happens. And SNAP doesn't just fight hunger, it also fuels our local economies. Last year, $154 million in federal SNAP benefits came into New Hampshire. And these dollars are immediately spent at local grocery stores, convenience stores, Sweet Beet Market, more than 1,000 participating retailers across the state in local neighborhoods. The research shows that each dollar spent on SNAP returns $1.50 or more in economic benefit. And that's because when SNAP recipients buy food at one of the participating providers, they support grocers' ability to pay farmers and vendors and staff, creating a powerful economic ripple. And that's why it's so disturbing that right now that millions of Americans and 76,000 New Hampshire residents didn't get their SNAP benefits yesterday. So while we're very pleased that New Hampshire authorities have stepped in with about $2 million allocated to the food bank to help people on SNAP right now, unfortunately that's a temporary stopgap. SNAP benefits in New Hampshire are typically about $13 million a month. So $2 million is not going to cover the need. And just to give you a sense of the scale of SNAP, for every one meal a food bank can provide, SNAP can provide 9. Food pantries are already stretched thin and can't possibly absorb the need vacuum left by SNAP because SNAP is part of our nation's first line of defense. So, and more importantly, SNAP gives people the dignity and the resources to buy locally the foods that meet their family's nutritional and dietary needs. By contrast, pantries often rely on people having transportation, knowing where to go, being able to access them during limited hours, all of which are major barriers for so many people, for older adults, for people with disabilities, for rural residents, and those who work during the day often. So that's why the suspension of benefits is such a disaster for our state. And I really want to be clear that regardless of the shutdown, the USDA absolutely has the dollars and the authority to use all of their resources to pay full SNAP benefits. And I'm happy to report that this evening, or late this afternoon, a federal court ordered the Trump administration, USDA, to release the benefits. Now, whether they appeal is a whole other question. But I feel like I need to say this. We work with bipartisan legislators. We think that hunger is not a red or blue issue, that it's completely bipartisan. But this USDA has been unnecessarily cruel to people. And it's consistent with the reconciliation bill that was passed in July that significantly weakened the SNAP program. It cut billions of dollars from the SNAP program, which means that many of our neighbors will lose eligibility and others will not be able to deal with the red tape that's created. This new law creates a ton of red tape that will cause people who are eligible to be thrown off the program. We have to, and it also shifts a ton of the responsibility for SNAP to states. It used to be that the federal government split the administrative costs with states 50-50. Now New Hampshire is going to have to pay 75% of the costs of running the program. And there will be further shifts in cost to the state. So what can we do? Well, I have two asks of you today. All of us need to tell the USDA and the Trump administration that the situation is unacceptable. It is unacceptable for 76,000 of our neighbors to be hungry right now. It is unnecessary, and I urge you to take action to tell them that. At the state level, we have to ensure that our state legislators understand how important the SNAP program is to New Hampshire. Because in this legislature, we will be advocating for the additional dollars that it takes to run the SNAP program that will be required in October of 2026. And so the governor is supportive of coming up with the additional administrative costs, and that's a great thing. But in this legislature, and this being not a budget year, it will be really important that everybody weighs in to say SNAP matters, not just to hungry people, but to our farmers and to our retailers. So that's my first ask. So that's my second ask. My first ask is to contact the USDA, and my second ask is to weigh in with your local legislators. Sorry.
That's fantastic, Lauren. Thank you. That's absolutely top of mind for all of us in this room tonight. So thank you for sharing at length what's going on with SNAP right now. It is a lot to wrap our heads around, and there's all these developments. So you sharing exactly what's going on right now and the bigger pictures is very important. I would like to ask France at this point, what real-time update do you have from the Kearsarge Food Hub's response as an example of a local response to the sudden lapse in SNAP benefits?
Absolutely. So here at the Hub, we are responding in several ways. Of course, it feels very important to meet the very real need that's been presented by the SNAP freeze. However, this is not an isolated event. There have been cuts to SNAP funding beyond this. And so we're also looking at long-term strategies and solutions. So since November 1st, when the SNAP freeze began, we implemented an emergency SNAP response. So we are increasing the donation of food through our Fridge. The Fridge is a free food pantry on the porch of Sweet Bee Market and Cafe. It is open 24/7, no questions asked, and we welcome anybody to use it that needs it. We are increasing the donations that we're putting in there by 50%. That means we're doing daily Fridge fills, and we're trying to focus on prepared meals. We're also increasing our donations of fresh produce to our food pantry partners in the Kearsarge region by 25%. We created earlier this year a beautiful Fridge manual, and so we're taking the time right now to disseminate that as far and wide as we possibly can. It's a how-to guide on how to start your own community Fridge, and our Fridge has been so beautiful, and we've seen just how helpful it is to so many community members, and so we encourage all of you to share this manual far and wide. We originally had set out to also offer a 50% discount at Sweet Bee Market for SNAP recipients for SNAP-eligible products. Because of USDA guidelines, however, we had to rescind that benefit. We are as well co-leading a Kearsarge regional emergency response with community partners, specifically our friends at Kearsarge Neighborhood Partners. This is a group of individuals and organizations that have come together before during the COVID pandemic and is coming together again. We're looking certainly at what we can do this month and next month, but we're also looking at having a longer response and strategy over the next 3 to 6 months. Finally, here at the Food Hub, we've been undergoing a strategic planning process, and we've been really, really fortunate to be working with Dartmouth Health's Center for Advancing Rural Health Equity. If Katie and Chelsea happen to see this, we're so grateful for your support. They have been helping us assess food insecurity specifically in this region, and I mean the Kearsarge region and surrounding towns. And they're helping us to understand exactly what's going on here and how we, the Food Hub, can really meet the needs of our neighbors. Ultimately, we feel very concerned about what is going on, and we feel deeply committed to taking immediate and long-term action to support our community.
Thank you, Franz. And I just do want to highlight a couple notes there. It is very important to know that even if the full SNAP benefits come through, they are delayed. They are not, there are many delays to getting the money on the EBT cards, and there are these longer term cuts to SNAP that are going to have these long term impacts that we are keeping our eye on. So that's very important to keep in mind.
Absolutely. I'm sure we could all go on, and we would love to have the whole forum be about what's going on locally, but there's so much more going on locally beyond just this 1 second. And I think it's important to zoom out a little bit as well. So I think beyond today, how has the local food system changed or evolved over the past 10 years? What trends are out there? And so we have some great panelists to help us learn and share. So Nikki, how has NOFA or the farming community changed or evolved?
Thank you. Thank you for having me also. I'm really honored to be here and appreciate this opportunity for NOFA. NOFA New Hampshire has grown a lot over the last 10 years. We have a much larger and more robust staff than we did 10 years ago, and we have many more programs. But what I had wanted to talk about right now was some broader statistics about what's been happening more broadly in the food system in New Hampshire. And organics. So in 2015, there were about 4,400 farms in New Hampshire. Today, we have about 4,000. So we have lost some farms over the last 10 years. At the same time, the number of certified organic farms in New Hampshire has stayed pretty steady and even gone up a little bit. So we've continued to see interest in organic. Zooming out even further, I wanted to talk about the organic market, which has experienced tremendous growth over the last 10 years. U.S. organic sales in 2015 were $43 billion. And in 2024, they reached $71.6 billion. So this is a really huge opportunity for organic farmers and farms interested in transitioning to organic to enter into this growing marketplace. Additionally, studies are continuing to show that eaters value nutrient-dense, tasty, high-quality, and healthy foods more and more, as well as local, sustainable, and organic foods. So this is another emerging trend and opportunity for farmers in New Hampshire and beyond who are utilizing organic, regenerative, and ecological practices to continue to enter that marketplace. I'm going to talk more about that later. I also wanted to talk about climate change. We've been seeing more extreme weather conditions over the past 10 years and certainly over the past 5 years as well. This has been flooding, excessive rainfall, excessive heat, drought, late season frosts and freezes, which really impact our farming community and our small and mid-scale farmers in New Hampshire. And also, at NOFA New Hampshire, we have a food access program called the Farm Share Program, and this program has also grown a lot since 2017 when it started. And we've seen an increased need for this program, and so we've been trying to grow along with the needs of our community and the needs for food access, which of course Laura and Franz have just talked a lot about. Lastly, I wanted to say that in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, we saw lots of consumption and purchasing of local foods, and that has dipped down a little bit since then. So one of the plugs that I wanted to give tonight is for folks who are able to support our local farmers and buy local, and also support organizations like Sweet Beet and Kearsarge Food Hub and local grocers and restaurants that are supporting our local farmers and producers, to please do that in this challenging economic time that we're facing. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Nicole, can you share about the evolution of the Food Alliance and the food system as a whole from your perspective?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everyone. Well, I think I'll say, because my bio did not, what the Food Alliance is, just briefly. So the New Hampshire Food Alliance is a program that's hosted at the University of New Hampshire, and we're a statewide network of hundreds of businesses and organizations and communities that all want to strengthen our local food system in some way, shape, or form. So all of these incredible women by my side tonight are all part of the New Hampshire Food Alliance network. They're organizations working on food insecurity, on farmland protection, on processing, on many different issues that connect in with the food system. And our job as a program is to understand those organizations and communities and businesses and try to help them find ways to work as best as possible together to find effective and efficient ways to move towards our shared and overlapping goals, which is very easy to say and difficult to do, right? And so the Food Alliance has grown in terms of the number of partners that are formally engaged. We have quadrupled in the last 4 years, up to over 360 organizations and businesses that are formally part of the network. So that's something I'm really proud of and excited about. In terms of trends for the food system at large, I'll say a couple of things. One is that one of the things that's most striking to me is not what has changed, but what hasn't when you look at the data. When you look at data from the last 20 years about the 4,000 farms in New Hampshire, what you see is that the vast majority of those farms are very, very small. The majority of them gross less than $10,000 a year in sales. So that's before talking about expenses. That's revenue. The majority of farms in New Hampshire are operating at a loss. And you look at their finances, their expenses exceed their revenue. And yet, they are still operating. So what is happening? What is happening there? How do we understand what is happening in New Hampshire agriculture and understand the nuances in that data so that we can provide our resources, the resources that this state has to offer, in a really smart, strategic way? Because a lot of people in the state are growing food because they love to grow food. It is part of their lifestyle. It is part of their joy. And some of the farms in the state are operating a viable business regularly. There's a huge range. So just seeing that data and understanding it and then pivoting to accept that that is the reality of our food system. That is not new data. It was fascinating to see in 2022. And when you look back at 2017 and you look back at 2012, it's still there. It's just when you put it in prettier graphs, you see it more clearly. And so I think that for me has been the most striking data point to look at over time, and something that I think we're all galvanizing around.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, that is very striking. I love how you framed that, what isn't changing and why we're here to make changes in certain aspects happen and come to be real and that we need. So this next question is for Laura in New Hampshire Hunger Solutions. You did cover a little bit of this, so I'm going to give you a couple options here. As we talked about, the government shutdown is a bigger trend in cuts to food assistance. If you want to expand a little bit about the bigger changes happening in SNAP and food assistance, please do go ahead and as you mentioned, how we are or are not able to handle those changes as a state. You've already advocated for a couple things, and feel free to do that again. And also feel free to include any other state or local programs that are supporting food access in our communities.
Sure, thank you. So I have a handout in the back that's about sort of the landscape of SNAP in New Hampshire, and also and on the back side it's about the changes in the program that are on the horizon. So I think I won't spend a lot of time getting into the details of that, but I'll just say that there are both structural changes in the program that will make it harder for people to stay on the program, and there are changes that shift the costs to our state, which will also potentially hurt people who are on the program and the many retailers that benefit from the program as well. So, and just to sort of think about the greater, what are the resources that we have in New Hampshire to help people who are food insecure, who are hungry. And they are, again, those federal nutrition programs, including SNAP, but also school meals and summer meals and the summer EBT program. Those are all child nutrition programs, as well as WIC. And unfortunately, in New Hampshire, we have really low participation in those programs. So, for example, we rank 46th in the nation in school breakfast participation. Less than half the children who are eating free and reduced lunch are participating in breakfast in New Hampshire. And what that means is that New Hampshire is missing about 14,000 kids feeding them breakfast. And we're missing out on about $6 million of federal dollars that could help them eat breakfast. And that's because of the way that our schools offer breakfast. It's typically early in the morning before kids can get there. And as a result, it's sort of thought of as poor kids' breakfast. And once kids understand that, they're not willing to participate, even if they're hungry. But there are better ways to do it. There are evidence-based ways to do it. You can make breakfast a part of the school day. And when you do that, it's just like lunch. Nobody knows whose card is swiping as free or reduced. Everybody can eat. And the school has the benefit of knowing that, everybody's well fed to start their day, because it's not just poor kids who benefit from breakfast, but really all kids. So one of the things that New Hampshire Hunger Solutions is doing at the local level is working with schools to increase participation in breakfast. We work closely with food service directors and administrators, and slowly but slowly, schools are changing the way that they offer breakfast to increase that participation. So I hope to report back in the next year about the many more children that will be well fed. School breakfast is one. The SNAP program currently only enrolls about 32% of the people who are eligible for the program. And again, the sort of prevailing narrative in New Hampshire that we're a rich state and that nobody's poor here doesn't serve the people who are living in poverty very well. And so there isn't a lot of focus on how we make those programs stronger, and there is a lot of stigma about participating in the program. So we are addressing that in a number of ways. Obviously, we do policy work at the state level in the legislature and with the Department of Health and Human Services to try to lower the barriers that exist and increase the access. So that's some of the work that we're doing. We're also, at the local level, we are helping to support local food access coalitions. And these are, cross-sector groups, folks from health care and education, and people who are providing direct services in various ways, and government officials. And they meet together to address the local community's actual food needs. These are all pieces that both benefit the communities, but also benefit us because we're looking for sort of what are the levers to leverage federal dollars to get more people fed in New Hampshire. So the local communities, coalitions are advising us in our policy work, and they form a grassroots base of support, a pretty mighty grassroots base of support, and calling our legislators and telling them they need to do more. So that's sort of the work that we're doing, and I urge you to get involved. We have a website where you can sign up for our emails, and we'll make it really clear what you can do, how you can weigh in, and we make it easy for you. It's sort of a click through, so I hope that you will check that out.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, this isn't their problem, it's our problem, and it's our opportunity for solutions, and that's exactly why we're all here, and we're grateful for that. Nikki, NOFA, what are some of the top challenges facing our farmers and our farming community? And what are some of the solutions that NOFA New Hampshire offers or envisions?
Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit more about something that Nicole said when talking about the strategic plan, to talk more about the farmers in New Hampshire, and that many of our farms, as Nicole mentioned, are very small and also diversified, and many of them sell direct to consumer. So that's kind of the landscape of our farming landscape a little bit more. And in 2025, farmers have continued to face mounting challenges that I think we might all be aware of some of these challenges, but cuts to federal programs, impacts of executive orders, tariffs, and rising costs of inputs and equipment, and just general rising costs of living, reductions in force at government agencies, which reduces capacity at those agencies and services that are available. The SNAP cuts that Laura talked about before will also be impacting farmers and other entities that receive SNAP as part of their business models. And then also the government shutdown, which is impacting payments that are going to be needing to be reimbursed, and also just lack of services because of government agencies being closed. So there's all of that going on. And in addition to that, there's some market access barriers that farmers experience as well, as I mentioned, with selling mostly direct to consumer. So for our small farms, it's harder for them to sell to larger grocery stores and things like that. So also I mentioned earlier about our weather and the climate change impacts, and I wanted to talk about that this year as well and kind of dive into that specifically for 2025. The extreme weather. So in May, it was the third wettest May ever recorded in New Hampshire, and there was also flooding. And that was followed by the driest summer on record in the state, which also included significant drought. And that follows a pattern over the last 5 years that I described earlier of extreme weather and climate impacts. These types of climate impacts really affect small growers and can really impact their sales or end their season as well. And many small farms don't have crop insurance, so they can experience significant losses in these extreme weather events. So NOFA New Hampshire is working to address these various gaps and focusing on aiding our community with a variety of initiatives. And I wanted to talk about a few of them tonight. So our Farm Share program, our Farmer Resilience Fund, our education and networking programs, and also our policy and advocacy efforts. Our Farm Share program, I mentioned a little bit earlier, it connects individuals and families in need with low-cost, organic, and sustainably grown CSAs across the state, and we've been able to expand this program to now reach into all 10 counties of New Hampshire, which is really exciting. And since 2017, we've helped serve 1,500 people, and just this year, over 500 people participated in that program. We also have a Farmer Resilience Fund, and that provides mini grants for farmers for emergency and disaster relief, and also to fund climate smart projects and to provide organic cost share reimbursement for small farms. And this year, we provided 18 farms with a total of $30,000 in mini grants, which is really exciting. This was our second year of offering a fund like this. And we're going to be opening up the fund again for 2026 soon. And that program, it helps farmers offset some of their costs and also to try new things with those mini grants. We also provide low and no cost education, peer-to-peer networking, and community building opportunities for farmers, gardeners, and eaters throughout the year. We have an organic gardening series, an annual winter conference, the New Hampshire Queer Farmer Network. We have field days and farmer intensives, family-friendly events, webinars, and more. Earlier, I had planned to talk about the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. I want to talk about that a little bit now. That's going off of the expansion of the organic market in the U.S. that I was mentioning. So the USDA invested in developing this Transition to Organic Partnership Program that NOFA New Hampshire participates in. It provides mentorships for farmers, technical assistance, and other support and resources for farmers who want to transition to organic. And through that program, we've been working with 45 mentors and mentees since 2023 in total who are interested in transitioning to organic. We've helped 7 farms transition to certified organic, and there's more who are expected to make the transition. And we've helped to actively transition over 540 farm acres across New Hampshire and the Northeast Mid-Atlantic to organic production. And through this program, we're also working on the market access. We have a webinar series that's through April. Each talk will be about a different market access point. And the goal is to help farmers gain insights and make connections to new market opportunities. Lastly, I wanted to talk about our advocacy efforts. Thank you. We were part of helping to pass the Local Food for Local Schools reimbursement pilot program, which we hope will continue. And we've also held events like a Farmer Day of Action. We post action alerts regularly. And if you want to learn more about NOFA New Hampshire, you can sign up for our mailing list and become a member. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely required to join all of these mailing lists. That is going to happen, and we're so grateful for your work. And one of the goals of tonight, we really hope that we connect the dots between, we're obviously talking about food security and the SNAP issue, but we want to connect that dot to the farming issue and all the challenges our farmers face, because farm security is food security. And just to make a little plug for organic, I'm not sure if you all saw the 40-year Rodale Institute study that compared conventional practices that use a bunch of chemical inputs with organic practices on a farm and can produce the same outputs with practices that do not harm or pollute or poison our bodies or our environment. So it is possible. So thank you for your work. Okay, Franz, on to you. Can you tell us a little bit about how the nonprofit model, where a nonprofit plugs into strengthening our food system, and how community involvement influences food system resilience?
I sure can. So operating as a nonprofit really allows us to center our mission over maximizing profits. And it really allows us to heavily invest in things like education, like free or discounted access to fresh, healthy local food, and of course in the long-term resilience of our farms and our land. Ultimately, we are all up against an industrial food system, something that our economic systems have created because they're quote-unquote efficient. Now, while we could say that that system is creating a lot of food or calories, it isn't accounting for the negative impacts of that system. Things like the climate, the health, and the food access crises that we face today. To counter the current conventional agricultural system, is going to require that all of us participate. We all have to invest in the alternatives. And what we offer here at the Kearsarge Food Hub is an investment into regenerative and local agriculture. And so we call this community-supported agriculture. It's a little bit different from the traditional CSA model. And this calls for all of us to invest in our local food system. Because we are always investing in our food system, the question is, which one? And so being a nonprofit allows us to be, as Hannah spoke of, a bridge between our farmers who need fair prices for their goods and all of us who need affordable access to that food, while also providing education all throughout the food chain. And so what we're able to do as a nonprofit is provide different entry points into the local food system and meeting people where they are depending on whatever capacity they have. And so our community members can access our educational programs, our food security and food donation programs. They can shop at Sweeby Market and Cafe. They can donate their time or their financial resources to our organization. Ultimately, all of that matters. And we want to create avenues for people to participate and engage, because no matter what, that's how we're going to create this alternative that we truly believe can exist. And so to give a little texture to what I mean by community-supported agriculture, I have an example of that in action. It's our favorite story around here, Jake and Cassie. In the front row, camera. Jake and Cassie came to us. I know many of you know the story, but I'm sure not everyone does. Jake and Cassie came to us about 5 years ago. They both apprenticed their first year, and then Cassie took on the food access lead role, overseeing Sweeby Market and our food donation program. Jake has spent the last 5 years apprenticing on Sweet Beet Farm. Of course, he's learned how to grow food, but he's also learned how to take care of his body, his mind, and ultimately to be a steward of the land. And all of that time, all of that training, of course, it took KFH and the educators that we have on the team. Big shout out to Pierre. But it also took all of the resources, all of our donors and our shoppers and our volunteers to make that possible. As you all know, I think that to start a farm, learning how to farm is one aspect, but access to land is a whole different animal. And through their time here in this community, Jake and Cassie made a lot of community connections. And through those, a lot of magic was able to happen. Shout out to Andy and Dorothy Jeffrey, Leon Milan. But they were able to start their own farm, Blaisdell Hill Farm, now in Sutton, New Hampshire. And they're on their way to be a certified organic farm. And the beauty of this community-supported effort, and much effort from Jake and Cassie, of course, is that they're now growing food. And it's food that was grown in a way that cares for the people and for the land. And that food is now here at Sweeby Market and the cafe through our food donation programs and out in the community at large. And even in my own kitchen. And just the other day, I was chopping some beautiful Brussels sprouts. And I said, Garrett, where are these from? And he said, well, it's Jake and Cassie. And I had that moment of, wow, this is really full circle. This is what it means to put this energy into something, and it does come back. And so being a nonprofit has been such a boon to our organization and I believe our community. Thank you.
Thanks. Pretty profound stuff that we're hearing tonight. So last but certainly not least, Nicole, the New Hampshire Food Alliance. Earlier this year, the Food Alliance developed a strategic plan. Why? We're going to find out. What's going on with the plan now, and how does it influence each of us in this room?
All right. I'm gonna push back on Rob's question and say the Food Alliance did not develop this strategic plan. The Food Alliance led the development. We spearheaded the development. But this strategic plan, the New Hampshire Food and Agriculture Strategic Plan, was by the network, of the network, for the network. It was made with the input of thousands of individuals, over 118 authors, many of which are in this room tonight, representing more than 89 organizations with their names on it as authors, and many, many more people and organizations and communities represented in the New Hampshire Food and Ag Strategic Plan. So we are so honored to have led this project, but part of its beauty is that we did not write it. It doesn't come from us. We helped bring together the network. When I talked before about the hard task of understanding our partners and understanding how to help everyone work together, the strategic plan was the tool, the framework that we used to attempt to do that over the last couple of years. 2 or so years ago, the New Hampshire Department of Agriculture gave us the authority and some funding from the USDA, along with other funders, including the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, to spearhead this project. And so after much hard work, it was published this past March. How many of you here have heard me talk about the New Hampshire Food and Ag Strategic Plan before? Oh, good, not that many. Okay, not that many. So
Pretend like it's new.
I'm going to pretend like it's new. So Hannah said, once I spoke at a Kearsarge event, and Hannah said something that I quote now all the time. She said, guys, this was a really big deal. and I say that a lot. And why is it a big deal? Why? It is a big deal, and I forget that sometimes. It's a big deal because this is the first time this has ever been done in New Hampshire. Hands down. Yeah. It is a huge step forward for our state. It is this incredible effort where we got together many, many people and organizations and communities that work on these issues, and we said to them, what makes a thriving food system in New Hampshire? What is important to you when we think of what a strong local food system is? And we narrowed it down to 27 different products, like let's see, produce, markets like farm to restaurant or direct to consumer, and issues like climate resilience or nutrition access. And for each of those 27 topics, we got a team of experts together. We also asked those people, who should speak to this? Who are the people in our state, in our community, in our region that are best equipped to speak to this issue? And we brought together 27 different teams. I think everyone up here was one of the authors of at least one of those briefs. And we asked them for a really concise summary and to come to consensus. What is this issue? Why does it matter? What is the best data we have around it? What are the current conditions in the state? What's challenging? What are the opportunities here? What are the assets? What are we doing right in New Hampshire that we can build on? And then most importantly, how do we move the needle on this issue? What can we all agree on needs to happen next? Even if it's not a comprehensive plan, what are up to 5 specific things that you experts can agree need to happen to strengthen nutrition access, for example, in the state? And so they did that. And now it's this incredible resource that, and I feel a little guilty up here because there's a lot of really challenging issues with our food system, but I have gotten to be in this incredibly positive role where I have the honor and the pleasure of trying to pull together these incredible leaders across the state, and that I get a front seat to the most positive work happening because we have made so much progress over the last couple of years in this state, pulling together as a cohesive team and having a cohesive vision for what a strong local food system can be and will be in our state. And now the strategic plan, it can be so many things. It is so many things. It's a resource. It's a playbook. It's a menu of policy changes, a menu of projects that need investing. And that's how it's been used. We've presented it to the House Agriculture and Environment Committee, to Governor Ayotte. It's been used in strategic planning by many organizations, including Kearsarge Food Hub, the Kearsarge team. And we are celebrating that we have this cohesive vision, that we have a cohesive framework for how to move forward. And now we're shifting gears into implementation. We got 1 month to celebrate this thing. And then it was time to shift gears into now what? What do we do with this? How do we build on this momentum? And that's what we're doing now. As participants in the food system, I would say use it, find yourself in it. If you are a farmer, just focus on your very hard job. But otherwise, no, you can get involved if you want, but mostly we're all trying to support you. If you are, you could use it in your giving. You can use it in your advocacy. You can use it in your strategic planning as an organization. There are so many different ways that different people and organizations around the state are looking to the strategic plan. If you are interested in an issue like wasted food, you can look at the wasted food brief for some really great, compelling statistics, charts, data, or grounding in it. Some of our state representatives found it really helpful because they have to make quick decisions about issues that are related to this. And it's a place they can go for very concise information grounded in science and in real facts. And so they're using it in that way. So we are finding lots of ways to pull in and engage people around the state in this work. And I hope you will find yourself in it and your spot in it. And I'm here to help you brainstorm if you'd like to.
Unreal. Super cool. It is important to have that kind of positive celebration of what's going right, what has been created as a tool, and to remember that these small steps, the next recommendation, the next thing, is sometimes the only lens that we can focus on when the big picture or the long term is also important, but it feels a little unclear. And so taking it step by step with the strategic plan. And I think we are all in a time right now where we're being reminded how important our civil and civic engagement is. And just to be aware of the issues and to be able to speak in your town halls or to your local politicians or to our dinner tables about the data that's been collected there. This is what's going on, and to accept that reality is a very important part of then advocating for the right policies and building the right systems that are going to address the issues or build off of what's working well. So that's very exciting.
Can I add one thing?
No. No, just go ahead.
I just wanted you all to know, she said I could add things later.
Yeah, I did.
She said,
go ahead.
You can jump
We're
in. We want
you.
it to be conversational, she said.
I said that.
I just was thinking about the apprenticeship program at Kearsarge and thinking that the strategic plan and the Food Alliance, one of the roles that we play in connecting in with your great work is amplifying it throughout the state. Taking this apprenticeship program you have for supporting and growing beginning farmers, that was one of the brief topics covered, supporting future and beginning farmers. And the needs identified were to see, there's all these different programs around the state, none quite as incredible as Kearsarge Food Hub's apprenticeship program. But they're all different apprenticeship programs that focus on supporting beginning farmers. But what is one of the things that's needed is a pipeline to connect all those and to help connect young people passionate about becoming producers and growing food in with experiences on the ground like apprenticeship programs here. And so for me, there's this beautiful moment of there's so much that Kearsarge Food Hub is doing that I find so inspiring. It's so refreshing to be here. And the strategic plan and the other partners around the state can tie in with that in beautiful ways that can bring it bigger and help influence each other and grow together. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we want to hear from you guys. You're lucky I can't walk around with this mic. I have a cord. Does anybody, we definitely want to open it up to the floor, to all of you in the room. I wrote down like a zillion questions myself, but we definitely want to hear from anybody in the room if you have a question about or for any of these panelists. I'm just going to quickly, in the mic, say the question. So in terms of the farmers' sales being low and the net profit loss, is it because they're producing at their output and can't find the markets, or is it because the other way around?
I'll go first and then see if Nikki hopefully has a better answer. I'll say I don't know. I don't know that we know. I don't think we have great information about that. I think that there are a lot of growers in the state that that farm, that have another job, and that farm and have off farm income, and they grow food as not a hobby, but another source of income, but more of a lifestyle thing that they really love to do. And so I'm sure that puts one in a precarious situation of not having quite enough time to devote to farming full time or invest in it. But I think we need to do some examination of what are those people's goals? Do they want to get bigger? Do they? But it really changes examining that information. It changes how you look at growers and how you support them. Someone that from Cooperative Extension often says when he looked at this data and saw it anew for the first time, he looked at farmers markets differently. That when he's a business technical assistance provider, and he said when most growers, when they want to go to a farmer's market, he used to think, doesn't make any sense financially for them. It's a lot of time. Often they don't sell other things. Like, I'm not understanding the business case here for this. But if you look at a grower that's grossing $5,000 a year, and the farmer's market's a time where they go and spend 4 hours with their community, and they chit chat with everyone, and they're having a great time, and they're not depending on that income for their livelihood, it's a really different story. So my answer is, I don't think we know that yet, but I hope we find out. I've covered it all.
We do have some folks who are actively moving food through the community right now, through our food pantries, etc. Amelia, April, looking at you. Just curious if you have any questions or comments about the current food landscape. Not to put you on the spot, but I did just put you on the spot.
Not really. I mean, I feel like we're at full capacity at the pantry, so we just added another partner, and we're having, we're trying to fill it ahead of the surge, so to speak. There hasn't been a lot of more increase just this week, but it's just hitting the market, with people coming up short. We did put a word out on our Facebook page to just say, any federal workers or anybody furloughed or, like right now because if you're not getting paid or you're unemployment and your federal workers come in. So we're trying to figure out who needs it, how to get them in, and we're at capacity, like I said, for what we can bring in and push out. So we fill it to the brim every beginning of every week, and we empty it as close as possible every week. So we're not, I don't know, they're really not, we understand the problems. Most of the people on SNAP are probably already our clients. So it's not really a surge for us because we're already seeing them. But there could be the outliners that, need the help with WIC or, we have formula, we have baby food, we have diapers, stuff like that. So we're prepared, we're ready, we just open the door, let them in.
Thank you. Go ahead, Amelia.
I think I'd add to that kind of a hole that I'm still seeing in the food system, working with the food pantry and the New Hampshire Food Bank and quite a few local farms, is this liaison between the farms and the food pantries. There's direct connections to the food banks, but most towns have a food pantry, and getting fresh local food, sometimes that food's already traveled more than you do in a day just to get to your food pantry, even though it came from the same town when you're working with the food bank. So finding ways to really connect more of this local, highly nutritious food to the food pantries before it's on its way out is something I think we need to stay attuned to and focus on. Farming's really hard, and at the end of the day, after you've done everything you can, taking that extra effort or having someone to be able to take what you have extra or leftover or left behind to somewhere that can be utilized in the time frame that it's still good is an area that needs a little bit more attention.
Yeah, thank you, Amelia. So you're talking about the gap of getting fresh local produce to our food pantries. You just mentioned that farmers are fatigued and their job is long and hard. I'm curious for our panelists, if anybody wants to hop in, if you have any thoughts, like what other barriers are there to getting more fresh local food into our food pantries or otherwise distributed?
The distribution and storage is the first thing that comes to mind. Obviously, there's a pretty short timeline for when we're talking about fresh produce. Certainly some last quite a bit longer, potatoes, onions versus greens and things like that. But that middle space, one of our bottlenecks here at Sweet Beet for our both our market and our food donation program, Cassie is shaking her head yes, is our storage capacity. We need more refrigerated space, 100%, just to hold it for even if it's just a few hours in the heat of the summer. It's crucial, or in the dead of winter. And then, of course, storage as well. I'm sure in the food pantries, as April was just talking about, they're filled to the brim. So you can't do much more unless you're expanding that specific storage capacity. And then distribution, it's the same thing. Hopefully, when we're talking about hyperlocal farms, the food is not going that far, but if it's in the back of a truck, you got a bunch of lettuce, it's 90 degrees out, the product deteriorates very quickly. So having refrigerated trucks, or at least something that has AC in it, is going to make a really significant difference in the lifespan of that product, at least by the time it gets to somebody's home. It'll probably be fine when they pick it up, but we're really trying to make the food last as long as possible. So, certainly in our strategic planning process, we're talking about, increasing our storage and our distribution capacity, and it's something that needs to happen not just here, but really everywhere in the state. There are, various food hubs and distributors who are trying to do that, but this is a really, really challenging job. It's hard to make it efficient. It's hard to make it financially viable. And as always, it's going to require a lot of good thinking and good work.
That's excellent. I just can't stress enough from my experience in the food system the past 10 years and getting to know all the many facets, just how skilled the labor is all along the supply chain, figuring out the logistics of moving food and storing food. And of course, growing food is all incredibly skilled labor and absolutely needs to be valued with dollars and investments, much, much more than it currently is. I do want to ask, Laura, you mentioned SNAP participation is low in New Hampshire. At the same time as we're seeing these cuts and we're curious as a state, how are we going to fund SNAP? So how do those two realities interact? Getting more people on SNAP while we're losing federal funding for the program.
So I think that even though there are some cost shifts to the states, most of the benefits are still federal. So there's plenty of federal capacity to support more people engaging with the SNAP program. So it's not as if, it's at this point anyway, it's not a limited resource. It still expands to meet the need. So I think that, I think letting people know that SNAP is out there, that SNAP is for all of us, is really the primary message that I want to share. And letting, of course, our lawmakers know that this isn't a program for those people. This is a program for us, because we care about our communities, because we care about our farmers, and we care about our retailers. I think that all of that, hunger is a solvable problem. We just have to, make the policy choices to invest in the programs that we already have. I mean, we're just leaving federal dollars on the table that could be feeding people. And I think the more that we talk about the benefits of the program, and not just SNAP, but school meals, and the many other federal programs, WIC. And I just wanted to mention, because you mentioned WIC, WIC is actually going to be funded through November. There is no stoppage in WIC. The state has, the federal government did actually release more dollars to fund WIC, so that's a really good thing. All of that is to say, talk to people about how important SNAP is. Thanks.
Yes, question.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions from the emails. It's kind of a two-part question. What are one or two things we could be advocating for at the town level to support local farmers and or food security? And what issues are a priority for at the state level for the upcoming New Hampshire state legislative session to advance food security and local food systems?
And I'm supposed to repeat that now into the microphone. What can we be advocating for on the town level for farmers and food security, as well as what can we be keeping our eyes on for the upcoming legislative session here in the state of New Hampshire?
Correct.
Okay. Who would like to take that question?
I can start.
Take a stab.
Well, I will. Let's see. So in the New Hampshire Food and Ag Strategic Plan, one of the briefs, I have a joke. I shouldn't say we have a joke. I have a joke where my response to anything is there's a brief about that, and there is indeed a brief about this in the New Hampshire Food and Ag Strategic Plan, and it is about there's land use. The land use planning brief, I would say, is the most about town ordinances and municipalities. And so I guess I would look to that brief for more information. But one of the things that I learned in participating and trying to facilitate the authors of that brief is about the town master planning process. And one of the recommendations in the plan is that at a town level that you have a chapter in your master plan for your town about food and farming. And the town can write whatever they'd like in it, but having that chapter and giving the thoughtfulness to that as part of your planning at a town level is a step that very few towns in the state have taken. So that's one of the recommendations. And the recommendation itself, I believe, is to change the template that all states start with so that it automatically includes that as a chapter. It has to be sort of removed if people don't want to do that, but sort of just triggers the thought. How do we want farming and farmland to be part of our town level planning? So look to the strategic plan for more if you want to read more of that topic, but that's one example of a policy put forth at the town level. At the state level, I don't think I can speak to that for this upcoming session. I don't have any great information. Do you all yet? Anyone? Oh, you have.
That's very interesting, and I'm sure many of us have heard about some of the challenges that happen with farmers trying to do their farm work or agritourism or any sort of farm-related business that helps them get income, and clashing with other activities in the neighborhood and needing to really be a part of those conversations on the town level of how we design our towns and how we use our land. So thank you for that reminder. That feels very important. Anybody else have a thought come to mind? Yes, Eileen. Local representative.
I feel like I need to say something. So my name's Eileen Kelly, and I am your state representative from Bradford, Warner, and Hennepin. So anybody here that's here from those towns? Me. True, at the state level, we've already passed our state budget, so squeezing more money out is going to be very difficult. I will tell you, I am on board with all of you. I hear you. I will give you a couple of suggestions. If you're going to lobby, and I do think you should, contact the government. When I say contact, I mean phone calls, leave a message, postcards, written letters, emails, if you can. I think putting pressure on the governor is right there. You got to do it. The money that just got shifted to put some money back in for our state for SNAP is coming from another pot, probably another Medicaid pot. So that's coming from someplace else. So somebody else is going to get hit by that. So that's another thing you have to remember. It's coming for us. We are a very frugal state, too frugal. emails, when you're emailing, the governor will have staff people. We don't have staff people. And I can't tell you, the emails that I have gotten have been overwhelming. One suggestion I have is if you're going to email me or any of the state reps, please say right in the subject line what town you're from. Because I get thousands of emails and I'm looking for who's writing to me from here. And I just don't know sometimes. They get overlooked. Your state senator, put the pressure on. Any of the state senators, put the pressure on there. So I'm saying lobby your local people, and especially the governor. It works for the governor. She has gone backwards on some things because she's gotten so much pressure from her constituents.
Thank you.
And I hear you. I'm there. I've tried advocating for solutions with legislation for school lunch programs. And it's been tough. And it's going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts, Eileen, and just to summarize, putting pressure on our governor with phone calls and postcards and emails, and just continuing to be loud about the issues that matter, puts pressure on our politicians at all of these levels and really can move the needle or change decisions. And so that's where the democracy comes in, and making sure our voices are as loud as possible. And this is a great way to be unified in kind of the message we're sending. So we are wrapping up the evening. I wanted to give an opportunity to each of our panelists to say one last plug, how we can stay in touch with your work. Very briefly, of 30 seconds, let us know. With your shared mic, please.
We're NewHampshireHungerSolutions.org. I'll second what Eileen said. If you're interested in getting involved in anti-hunger issues in the legislature, we're happy to work with you. You don't have to make it up yourself. We can share our action alerts or help you write letters to the editor or whatever you'd like to do. So just contact us.
The New Hampshire Food Alliance, you can go to NewHampshireFoodAlliance.org, sign up for our newsletter. We have a lot of work groups launching to move forward the Food and Ag Strategic Plan. We have information on there, about all of the information here is interactive and dynamic and is being updated as our partners update us on what they're doing. So if you're interested in that, explore it and get to know it. But I'd say sign up for our newsletter, and then you'll stay in the loop about the statewide work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, to follow NOFA New Hampshire, you can go to NOFA-NH.org. We're also a membership-based organization, and we have very flexible membership range. So we welcome everyone to join us as a member. I also wanted to plug our biggest community event of the year that's coming up in March 7th. It's our annual winter conference, and this year is going to be focused on taking root in nourishing community. And this is a really fun and exciting annual event that we do that gathers our community for education and just connect and share skills. So hope to see you there. Thanks.
And I am representing the Kearsarge Food Hub. You can stay in touch with us certainly by finding us at www.kearsargefoodhub.org. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can support us by shopping at Sweepy Market Cafe, and as we've talked about tonight, using the Frege, reaching out to volunteer or to support in any way and to get engaged. We're here for it, and we appreciate you so much. I'm going to let these guys talk about the fundraising.
Thank you, panelists. Let's give them a big hand.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, sharing your wisdom, and giving us an opportunity to think and ponder about our food system, and not only food security and food insecurity, but what it means to have food sovereignty. And while that's a big word and it's a sort of an overwhelming term, it really means we all can take charge. It's not a matter of anybody doing the work. It's all of us doing the work to be able to keep food, to be able to keep the food systems, and to be able to do it all in a local manner, and to be able to do it and have control over it. And as Franz was saying, not letting the big ags take care of it, but we need to create our own solutions. And if we put it on someone else, it's not going to happen. So it's up to us. And so we all have the power, and we're all doing that. And it's all happening because of this group here and because of everyone here. So I just want to end my piece by just saying and sharing a quick story. Last night on my way out of here, I was getting in the car, and there was someone who came into the fridge. And it was the first time I'd seen people coming and going, and it was like, okay, great. But this person sat there for about 5 minutes, and they explored what was in the fridge. They looked, and they looked at some food, and they said yes, and then they looked at something else. So you know what? They went home last night and had dinner. They might not have had dinner if it wasn't for the fridge. Why? Because of our farmers, because of the food hub, because of all the benefits that are out there, because of all the hard work of everyone around here. So when you see that in action, it's like, holy, that's a real take-home moment to realize the work we do makes a difference. They really, I'm sure, would have gone home without a meal. But because of everyone's hard work, it didn't happen. So shout out to everyone for all their efforts, but it's real. And food insecurity is real, but the solutions are also real, and we're all part of that. So thank you for that. So Hannah?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for sharing that story. If you're feeling fired up and you want to take action right now, you want to do something right this very minute, you can and you should. I encourage you to head to this link here on this banner or kearsargefoodhub.org to have your donation matched to support the Frege, to support the farmers we're purchasing from, to support a farmer apprentice program that's growing more farmers, and on and on and on. It truly is only made possible by your time here tonight and your love and your care and also your financial contributions. So please, I urge you, any amount really adds up, $5, $50, please give what you can. And, Love Local is about getting inspired. We're getting real, and we're hearing some hard things, and we're also getting inspired. I feel like there are many, many action items to take away that we're excited to share with you tomorrow when I will be following up. But truly, it gives me hope to see all the efforts, big and small, and it's such a good reminder. You turn on the news and it's not this story happening. So this is why this exists. This is why we're doing this. And I would like to end with a quote by Jared Anderson. And he says, "This is our obligation, to lay our hands lightly on the things we can influence and press in the direction of our values. If enough people press in the same direction, the ground will rumble and the boulder will shift." I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the shift. Go try to press a boulder by yourself. See what happens. Definitely want to end with that sentiment, the power that we have collectively. I do want to thank our panelists once more for all of your efforts, for spending your evening with us. I know it's past all of our bedtimes at this point. Thank you again to our sponsors, Jake's Marketing Cafe, Daystar Builders, and Sugar River Bank. Thank you, Greg and YCN, for filming tonight, so I didn't have to worry about the tech. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you to our Kearsarge Food Hub team, our board members, many of whom are in this room, our staff and our volunteers, again, many of whom are in this room. Thank you to the kitchen crew for their delicious food. So good. Sorry, everybody at home. Thank you to NOK Vino for sharing your wines with us, and thank you again for tuning in. I do have one more request from this evening. We are going to be sharing this recording with you, and we ask that you share it far and wide with your networks. The messages that we've heard tonight should not stay in this room. They should be blasted out, and we need to keep the conversation going. Unbelievable things are possible when we work together, so keep the hope alive. Thank you for tuning in, and good night.